it's almost like a blackmail, enticing you back. There's lies, and there's a gradual wearing you down, being nice to you, then being horrible, then being nice to you again, being horrible, and it really does get into emotional abuse.
Here we go.
Very little physical force needs to be used to do this, and she said I got to the point that I had to go along with it. They made me, I had to. They would talk about it incessantly. Really, that was the forcing element. And she said when I went through with it, I expected some kind of reward for doing what they wanted me to do, but I didn't get that. I didn't get anything. And really with forced marriages, sometimes very little force and threats need to be used. Gradually just wears you down and grinds you down, that really you're left with no other option. You have to go through with it. And that's what's happened, I think, in these cases.
Greater Manchester Police have trained all their frontline officers to be on the lookout for honour-based violence when they're on patrol.
Okay. At this moment in time, I need to inform you that you're under arrest, on suspicion of assault.
An Asian male has gone into a shop where he's had an altercation with his sister, and he is then threatened to cut off her head and cut off the head of her daughter, who's 3 years old.
Honour-based violence means the wider family are usually the perpetrators, but the coercion is sometimes so subtle, it's very difficult to detect.
Victims of honour-based violence and forced marriage, one of the most vulnerable victims we can come across. Once a victim enters a forced marriage, everything else that takes place from that marriage, there's no consent there, from day-to-day things that go on between the couple, to having kids. Everything, you could argue, is unconsensual because it's a forced marriage to begin with. And so mentioned like a life-term sentence in some aspects, which for some victims sadly is true.
In many cases, forced marriage leads to further abuse. This is what Sajda found when she was 16.
We came to England after 3 months. Things became worse. He raped me. There was a lot of mental torture, there was a lot of physical violence. He was beating me up more every time I got pregnant because we found out it's a girl. And he wanted a boy.
A lot of the cases where young people have been forced into marriage, they do end up in a domestic violence related situation where they're not happy in that relationship. There's no way of getting them out of it. They're treated as nothing other than as a house slave. There's no escape as far as they're concerned. They have to stay within that marriage. To leave that marriage, it's just another way of disrespecting your community, your family, and the honour code again.
Sajda's abuse continued for 13 years.
I had a knife held to me. Then he got this cable wire and he beat me up. And I had scars all over my leg and my back. I had a phone with me and I kind of dialed 999, but I couldn't kind of say anything. Suddenly the police turned up and he won't let me open the door, but told me to tell them nothing has happened. But the one look on my face, they kind of, got the clear picture.
Hiya, we need house because our father kicked us out sometimes. And how old are you, love? I'm nearly 15. Okay, and who are you with? My mum and with my brothers and sisters. And your dad kicked you out. So you all stood in the street? Yeah. Outside the house? Yeah.
So we're looking for Silver Ashtray, the male who's allegedly assaulted his wife earlier today. Works just at the shop there and is due to back any second, so obviously we'll arrest him and take him in for questioning.
Zainab and her 4 kids have been thrown out of their house after her husband became violent.
At this moment in time, I need to inform you that you're under arrest, on suspicion of assault. Assault, hitting or... Yeah? When you cause harm to somebody.
The responding officer has to work out whether this incident could be honour-based violence.
The questions relating to the honour-based violence, it's more the control inside, and then there's also a few questions regarding has anybody else ever threatened to kill you, or has anybody else threatened to harm you?
With Zainab's husband in custody, the family can go home, but the officer has to find out how safe Zainab and her children will be.
If you could just ask her to give us a brief sort of idea of what's happened today, just surrounding the argument and the assault which she's obviously alleged. Is it okay? Take your time.
Okay, can you just tell him that he was arrested, the assault on his partner whereby I grabbed around the throat. He was brought in from...
When you say he's pushed you, how has he pushed you?
A police interpreter translates.
From there, it's like push me back.
Okay.
Get out from here.
So you say there,
Yeah, there. He pushed me hard,
Okay.
So, just go from here.
Okay. You feeling frightened at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's any fear that violence could happen again?
आपको इस बात का डर है कि यानी कि दोबारा मार सकता है?
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been together and how long has this been going on for?
हमारी शादी को तो 16 साल हो गए। पहले तो मैं पाकिस्तान में थी। वो उधर भी आते जाते थे लेकिन तकरीबन ऐसा ही होती थी रूटीन।
We married for 16 years.
Okay.
I used to be in Pakistan. He used to visit, and it's been like this
Since the start. Okay.
The police always have to assess the risk, not only for the victim, but also the children. Sajida has 4 kids who witnessed her abuse at home. Her husband was remanded in prison, but the wider family put pressure on her to drop the charges, and she took her husband back.
Every time when he'd done these things, I wanted to move away from him, but there was a lot of pressure from family members to stick by him because of what the community will think or what the family members will say. And again, anyway, he's my husband, and he's maybe he lost his temper, husbands do this.
It was another 2 years until Sajida found the strength to stand up to her husband again, when he started to threaten to take his daughters abroad to marry them off.
When he was angry, he used to say he's going to sell them off, he's going to marry them off to his cousins. He's going to teach me a lesson for sending him to jail, and I was thinking, I can't live with this man. I don't want them getting married to cousins or people who they don't know and suffer for the rest of their lives because they don't deserve this. I have to make sure they are going to be safe, they are going to be protected. No one is going to take them outside the country to please their relatives and marry my daughters off.
I always say to victims, remember this, that you can say no to a forced marriage, there are options, but if you go through with that marriage, a forced marriage is for life and it takes away your life. You are now being sentenced. On your wedding night you will be raped. Then you will be raped again and again and again and forced to become impregnated. And then your rights as a woman are taken off you completely, because then there are expectations of you as a woman that's been forced into a marriage, and you are dealt with as a second-class citizen.
Greater Manchester Police have had 250 cases in the last year of honour-based violence and forced marriage. But because of victims' reluctance to testify, the force has yet to bring a single case to court under the new law. DI Tanya Kitchen was successful in securing a conviction in the civil court for Halima's parents who broke the forced marriage protection order. They received a 6-month suspended prison sentence.
I had to make a tactical decision, and it was a tactical decision because what I wanted to do is arrest them and send a message to that family to protect the other children within that family that we will do something about it.
11 forced marriage protection orders were placed on the other children in that family. This is the largest number ever placed by the courts at one time in Manchester.
I'd just like to make you aware that I'm just going to...
No mobile phone evidence was found, and so the threat to kill allegations against Aisha could not be proved without her statement. Her parents were released without charge. After 4 months in a refuge, Halima and Aisha have chosen to return to their families. Halima is having her forced marriage annulled.
Okay. You've got to get out of the mindset of, well, what is a good result and what you perceive to be a good result. It may not work out totally how you want it to be, but if you've caused disruption, if you've, changed this family setup and broken it apart a little bit and broken the control element of it, then that's a good result.
Roxana married her boyfriend 2 months after she fled. She says they've now been accepted back by both their families. Sajda divorced her husband and got forced marriage protection orders on all her daughters. Her girls are all currently in education and they can marry who they want.
I'm not going to be part of their group where they are willing to give their daughters away just to please their brothers and sisters and let their child suffer, watch them suffer and not do anything. I mean, I don't understand this. I mean, where's that parental emotion when you give birth to your children? You're meant to save them.